Okay guys, this is my disassembly video for my Echo1 ATS, better known as an M1014. These are the tools you're going to need. My last video went over 15 minutes and I couldn't upload it, so I'm going to have to cut this one down. Tools: long flathead screwdriver, short Phillips head, shorter Phillips head, shorter Phillips head, sewing seam ripper, 3mm Allen key, 1.5mm Allen key, and this is, I believe, a 2.5mm Allen key, not sure. Alright, and then here are your three lubricants. You have white silicone grease, whetstone oil, and silicone lubricant in an aerosol can. Here's the gun itself, so I'm going to get right to it. Okay, first step you want to do is clear the gun. So you want to open your magazine, all that stuff, take that out, make sure your gun's clear, it's not cocked or anything. Okay, so that's done. Now you want to remove the stock, take the button, depress it, rotate it towards you, move it to position 3, move it to the fat band, rotate it right, pull it all the way off. I rotate it left, sorry. Okay, now you want to take a screwdriver with a long enough shaft to reach up to the screw itself, which is halfway up the stock tube. You want to interlock with the threads without stripping it, and very gently remove it. Once set, the entire stock tube comes off with the screw inside. Right after it, pistol grip comes off. So I'm just going to move these over here. Okay, that comes off. Now, you want to remove everything on top of the receiver, which should be your rear sight and flat top rail. So you have two Phillips head screws, one in the back, one in the front of your rear sight. You guys will see it pretty clearly. I'll just take the camera and zoom in on stuff that I think you guys will need to see, because I hate disassembly videos where a guy will not go into detail enough to show you where parts go. And a friend and I were tearing each other's hair out trying to get a classic Army G36C gearbox back together. And every video we found on YouTube, the guy just would not show half the gearbox. It was just like a really giant above view. And so anyway, I learned from that, and now I'm going to try and actually do my video so you guys can see what I'm doing. As you can see, I'm removing the two set screws in there, not the two set screws, the two flathead screws up there, and the hop-up screw, and the entire rail comes off in one piece. Okay, now, there's a Phillips head screw right there. I want you to get the larger Phillips head. You need a broader head for it so you don't strip it. Get in there and undo this. Got pretty short threads to it. It's really small. There you go. That comes off. Now, unscrew your magazine tube. That comes off. Now you can remove your pump handle. You just pull it vertically. Comes right off the gun. Okay, now you have a set screw under here. You're going to figure out what size Allen screw it is. It's bigger than 1.5, but smaller than 3, so it might be a 2. And just unscrew it, and you get about halfway off. You don't need to take it out anymore because it's just a set screw, and pull off the gun. Oh, maybe it's still on there too much. And just on the safe side, just remove it. That way you can clean it, put some oil in the threads. Mine's got a little bit of surface rust on it, so I gotta clean that. Clean. Okay, that comes off. Now work your barrel very gently off your gun. And slide it off your outer barrel, and it's off. So that is the outer barrel. Okay, now to remove the receiver, you need to knock out this body pin. So you need your 3mm Allen screw. I really hope that Allen wrench set wasn't in the way. Alright, and 3mm Allen screw, and undo this cap screw on the other side of this body pin. It's just like taking out any airsoft M4 body pin. It's the same deal. That comes out, and then use the screw. I use the wrench to go in there and push it out the other side. When it's out, reassemble it so you don't lose the pieces, and put it off to the side so you don't forget about it. Oop. Thread. There we go. Okay. Now you are free to remove the trigger guard. So you need to pull back on the magazine handle, the magazine release button, for the loading gate. It'll switch on this side above the serial number. You're going to grab the trigger guard. You're going to lift it very gently up and then forward. And there's a little notch back you have to disengage, as you can see, and disengage it and lift it right off the trigger. Now try not to lose the spring in here for your magazine catch. As you lift it off the gun, it's going to want to come forward, and there's a spring behind it. See, that almost flew away. But yeah, it's a little conical spring, so be careful not to lose that. And remove that. Your loading gate can't be taken off until you split the receiver in half. Alright, so your trigger, be very careful not to lose the return spring, but pull it straight up. And there's a spring underneath, and pull that out, and this is where the seam ripper comes in. It's great for removing springs. Just slide it in between the threads and it comes right out. Okay, trigger return spring and trigger are now out. You are now free to disengage the receiver casing, which is this plastic sheath up here. It's the outside of the gun. It's ABS plastic. The inside, as you can see, is a really nice aluminum. Trick is just getting it off the gun. Come on. Okay. My bad. This screw is not going to be on your gun. It's a Phillips head screw I put in to fill the hole for the dummy cocking handle. That's why it was not sliding off. Okay, now we're good. See, it comes off much easier. Yes, so definitely make sure you unscrew the cocking handle. Auto receiver, just make sure you don't crush it or crack it. You want to remove your dummy ejection port cover. So you got to kind of wiggle it around and then dig your fingernail in there and hinge it off. It's just going to be held on from suction from grease. Okay, so now you have two Phillips. Okay, so my bad. Alright, so this is your pump lock mechanism. What you can do is you're going to remember, I'll show you which way to put it in my next video. Okay, so put your finger over it, and then you're going to take these springs, and you're going to use the seam ripper to grab them and catch them so they don't fly away, and just pull them off their nubs and out of their slots. Take them out, and they're out. Okay, they're really small, try not to lose them. Now you can use your fingernail to dig this piece out. This is just what locks your pump handle forward after each pump to prove that your gun is cocked and prevents you from pumping multiple rounds into the chamber. Okay, so now you have two Phillips head screws. You're going to need a fairly pointed Phillips head screw, and you're going to want to remove these two right here, and these, this there, and there are two of these on each side of the pump handle. So I'm going to get a really fine Phillips head screw driver and undo these. Just take care not to bend or put too much pressure on the outer barrel without its on the inner barrel without you know, you don't want to damage it. Okay, so now your pump handle brace comes off. Now you need to get your larger Phillips head screwdriver and go right here. And I want you to loosen them up about halfway because the receiver is going to want to expand a little bit, and it's not going to explode in you like some gearboxes will, but it's going to expand a little bit. So undo each one about halfway, so you don't bind up the other screw, and then that way you can just evenly undo the gun and it doesn't become a pain to undo. And the problem is use the seam ripper to get under it and then continue to unscrew it. And just use the fork of it to get underneath the screw head, and you can lift it right out of its recess. That and this one rest of the way, just fingernail or something and just get it under there and lift it out. Okay, your receiver is now ready to be disassembled. So I'm going to put the camera over here now, and here's what I want you guys to pay attention to. Your loading gate is held in by the halves. Just grab it here above where the trigger is and just very gently lift it open and crack it open in the back. Now what I want you to see right here is where your spring guide locks into the gun. Take a flathead screwdriver, just like any AEG gearbox, and pry it up from its notch and slowly let it expand without letting it fly across the room. You have a plastic spring guide. It's pretty well made, but you never know with plastic. Alright, so now your receiver is safe to take apart. Just slowly pop it open and it comes off. Your trigger mechanism is going to explode out of its spot because it's all held in place with springs. Your loading gate's going to fall out, but this is the inside of your receiver. As you can see, you have your trigger group here, and it's all pretty neat. You have spring and spring guide, you have your piston and O-ring, and then you have your cylinder and air nozzle, and then you have your entire hop-up unit, and you have your outer barrel, and it's all pretty clean in here. I just re-greased it, and just make sure the seal is intact right here. Sorry, make sure the seal is intact, and the factory grease will eat it apart, as I've said multiple times. So make sure when you get this gun, take it apart like I just did, pull off the O-ring, clean out all the black residue, clean off the original factory grease, use this stuff, any kind of like silicone gel, and it doesn't have petroleum distillates in it, and re-grease this. Okay, so this is how to disassemble it. I'm going to have 2 videos on how to reassemble this, so make sure you check those out. Thanks.